Welcome to Past, Present, Future, the Full Circle podcast, where we ask questions that nobody else wants to ask, but that you want the answers to. Please subscribe, share, and drop a comment so we know you were there. No, let's get into it. So, Past, Present, Future, episode 25.
25.
It's also a special occasion, to be fair, because it's our first ever producer. So we're here with Michelin Shin, not Michelin.
Not Michelin.
But no, I'm really excited to get into the mind of an industry-leading producer. Obviously, one of the things we love about this podcast is like the diversity of it, the guests that we get on. Mm-hmm. And you know the format, everyone knows the format now. We do want to go back to the very beginning. Know you grew up in Southwest London. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I wanted to kind of jump into the mind of the child Michelin Shin and kind of understand, what did your childhood look like?
I grew up in Southwest, obviously. I grew up in Collieswood, small town called Collieswood. Tooting is like my neighbour in Mitcham. Kind of grew up in between both. It's next to Wimbledon as well, so I grew up around there. Yeah, literally just that young kid that was just on the streets, friends, football, nothing crazy. My friends were just up to no good after time. I didn't follow suit in that world, but when we all started growing up, we all started to want different things, and obviously I was playing football and then I wanted to do music, but it wasn't like the main thing I wanted, if that makes sense. It was, the way I got into it was through a youth club. So I started working at one. I was kind of, you know that age when you're at a youth club and you're like, oh, I'm getting too old for this now, man. You're like 15, 16, like 17 more, so I want to get out of this. This is all the younger youths are coming through now. But the woman that ran the youth club, she was like a second mum, Carol Heeman. She was like a second mum to me. And she said, look, obviously, we want you here. Like, you know, because of the area I grew up in, you knew people from Tooting, knew people from Collieswood, knew people from South Wimbledon. You kind of like a mediator between everyone. So I said, what are you saying? And she's just like, if we can get you paid to stay here, would you be on it? And I was just like, yeah, fuck it. Like, just teach the kids how to play football. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what I was on. So I was like, all right, cool, let's do that. So I don't want to do football. She's like, I can't, because Jason's already doing football. There was another youth worker there. She's like, I got to think of something else. So I was like, all right, I'm going to teach them how to make music. But I didn't have a musical bone in my body, bro. I was just like, let's just try it, innit? So she was just like, cool, if that's what you want to do, let's try to do it. So we went to Prince's Trust. We got, I think it's 15 grand from the Prince's Trust. They got us equipment to build stuff. So we got, I think we had some other equipment from another youth club as well in Pollards. So we kind of just took things from everywhere, put it together, and then me and my friends were just making music in there. We were literally just teaching ourselves as we went along, but I was getting paid at the same time to be there, which was kind of sick. So, and then I think after about a year, it got to a point where we wanted to be in there more than just the youth club hours, like, which was, I think, like 2-3 days a week. So I had the code in it. Started breaking into the studio with my friends late nights, and yeah, we'd stay there like late nights. Like, we'd leave at like 3-4 in the morning sometimes. And then one day, the new manager, some woman called Shazia, she clocked that there was a sofa that wasn't meant to be in the studio. She went on Logic. She saw the timestamp was like 2 in the morning. Hit me up. She's just like, yeah, you know, were you in the studio? I was just like, no. You know, it's obvious. Like, I'm the only one that was using it. And then I kind of just said to her, yeah, like, I'm going to cut out. And I kind of knew what was coming next in it. So I just said, yeah, I'm going to cut out. Dipped out. And then, yeah, from there, literally, that's where the musical journey started. And then I just had like a drive for it. I just wanted to do it all the time. Got my own equipment at home, started recording people from school. And it just become like an obsessive passion. And it literally hasn't changed since. I'm just learning every day now.
It's sick. It's an incredible story, especially about the youth club. So thank you for going into that. I was interested in one thing that you actually mentioned before going into the youth club. You said like growing up, your friends were getting into this, that and the other, but you actually mentioned that you steered clear of that. So I wanted to kind of understand how hard it was for you to steer clear of that, and kind of what stopped you from getting into that.
Like, I think it's just, I had a large group of friends in my area. So like I had friends that were going off and going to different gangs. I had friends that were just wanting to sell drugs at a young age. I had friends that would just say, nah, man, we just need to just do us. We just need to... And I kind of just fell in that bracket where I was cool with everyone that was doing what they was doing, but I kind of knew that I didn't want to be in a gang. I never wanted that life, but I was cool with everyone that was in there. Do you know what I mean? So it was... And I think just having the upbringing, like my mum raised me well, and I just said, you know what, I just don't want to be dead in jail. That's that life that's not for me. I know what I want. I know kind of this newfound passion that I've got. I know this is where I want to go. And at the time when I started it, man, there was no Spotify. There was no, like we had MySpace, bro. Like it was weird. So it was like, I didn't even know where I wanted to be. I just know I wanted to do it. I don't want to make it a full-time thing. So figuring that out over the years has obviously become, a blessing. So, and that's kind of, I'd say, yeah, it's just my upbringing. And a close circle of friends that I did have, we all just kept each other out of trouble. You know what I mean?
No, it's a really good answer. And another thing that I wanted to understand, and this is kind of stemmed from my experience of school, but obviously school is a huge part of childhood, but I wanted to understand from your perspective as someone who's clearly an elite creative. I sometimes feel, from my perspective, that the school system doesn't benefit and nurture creative people as well as it should.
I agree.
So I wanted to understand from your perspective, how was your school life when you knew that your purpose, your passion was something creative?
In school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I knew I liked music and I wanted to do it. I knew school wouldn't be able to give me what I wanted. We didn't even have like music production stuff then. It was just learn how to play the piano, play fucking, I don't know, Baba Black Sheep on the keys. And that was just dumb stuff, innit? And it's like after school, when I went to college, when the passion kicked in even more, I was doing a course, because I was good at art in school. So I was good. So creatively, I've always been quite good. So I've done art and graphics, and I got high grades in them in school. They're my only A's that I got. Everything else was like D's and stuff. So I done well in that, went to college, I done advertising, illustration, fine. I done a BTEC in like that kind of stuff. I think it was like 6 A levels or something. And then from there, afterwards, I never progressed with it because I only done it because I was good at it, but I didn't have the drive for it, if that makes sense. So, and then obviously it was just music that was just kind of ticking in the back of my head, like, nah, you need to just keep working it. And it literally just, that's where it went. It just kept going and going and going. And obviously through my adult life, when I started getting, after college, I started getting jobs, just like normal jobs. I was working them, but then I'd go and do music afterwards, going to different studios, going to friends' houses, wherever I could test my musical ability and just learn, I would do that outside of college and work. And it kind of just grew and grew and grew and grew. And
how bought into the music process were your family?
I remember my dad, yeah, like I bought I said when I first got the youth club days, my friend Devlish, he's a producer. He used to produce for like Devlin and Wiley and all them lot. I bought his old Mac off him, yeah. So I saved up, got an old Mac off him, and I got a little pair of Active M1 monitors, just shit that was set up at home. But I remember my dad banging on the door, like, turn that shit off. He was not invested in me at all. Do you know what I mean? Until this day, when I go around my dad's house, I'm just like, it's it. Like, remember when you used to do that? And he's just like, shut up. But he was never invested in what I wanted to do, ever. Like, apart from education and stuff, if it was anything that he didn't understand, there was no backing. My mum, on the other hand, was more supportive. You know what I mean? So my mum was just like, I'll help you where you can. Like, obviously she can't because it's not her field, but she was always morally supportive. You know what I mean?
One thing that you just said then, and I might have made an assumption, but when you were talking about your dad, you made a point of saying, when I go round to my dad's, and then when you said your mum,
No, my mum and my dad, yeah, they live in the same house.
But, okay.
Yeah. But if I'm gonna go check my dad, if I'm gonna go check my mum's, yeah, same house, family house.
Interesting. And earlier when you said about the youth club, you said like your second mum, I think you said you had. Yeah. So what did that relationship look like?
She was, do you know what, she was just supportive. Like, Carol was just a supportive woman. Like, even, I was going there from young to this youth club. So she, when you just get a vibe of someone, like, you probably got friends' mums, and you look at their mum and be like, she got so much love for me, and I got love for her back, because she's just supportive. That's what I got from Carol. Do you know what I mean? There was other youth workers there. Like, Joel's another woman who I got a lot of love and time for. And Carol was the one woman that was always trying to just steer everyone in the right direction and just keep everyone out of trouble. And if something was going on outside a youth club, she'd intervene. Do you know what I mean? So like, she was like a proper community mum. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people from that youth club would say the same thing as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's important to have her in the community.
Definitely. No, I wanted to touch on that because you mentioned it earlier, and I think that it's really important, these different figures that kind of contribute to where you are today. So it's good to go into that. From like a producer's perspective, when I think about it anyway, so I think about like an artist is very like extroverted more often than not. They like the limelight, they like to be out there, this, that and the other. And the producer's kind of like the man behind the computer, if that makes sense, which leads me to kind of like think, producer more introverted and artist more extroverted. When you were a kid, how accurate would it be to say that you were like more reserved and more introverted?
Do you know what it is? When I was growing up and looking at the producers that we all know and respect now as like the greats, the Timbalands and the Pharrells, and they were more out there. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't just know them as behind, even Swiss Beats. He was in music videos going, yeah, whatever he was saying, like he was active. Now I feel like it's not as much, it's still there, but it's not as much, I don't feel. And I feel like they're more pioneers in their sound. You couldn't go and get a Timbaland beat from anyone else unless they worked with Timbaland. Do you know what I mean? Same with Swiss Beats, like he had obviously his proteges as well, but all the big ones, they had their own sound, and I feel like they're more in the camera than the people that are just doing a generic sound almost. I mean, and I think that's one role as a producer. It's important to find when you can find your own sound, you feel like you want to champion it more. Like, this is me, this is my own sound. And till this day, I feel like I've chopped and changed and found a sound that I've liked. I feel like it's me, but I still haven't found that Timbaland element about me, or that thing that Pharrell's got about him that makes him the front runner of his sound, the face of his music almost. But apart from that, I don't know. Over here, like, who would you say in general? Like, from an outsider looking in.
So you got obviously beat freaks, I would say. So I was thinking about it earlier from like a content perspective, like who's putting content out there.
I feel like they're so diverse that I couldn't put that as a sound. Do you know what I mean?
No, not in terms of a sound. If I'm thinking about kind of the people that are more out there, though, so like obviously beat freaks, they're creating their own content. Also, Still Bangles has like content stuff, doesn't he? So I guess they're more like public facing than just the producers that kind of sit behind the screen and go, right, there's the beats and stuff like that. So I'd say they're kind of like more on the extroverted spectrum, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's small over here.
It is small.
Like, when you think about that, there are only two names you could probably think of.
Yeah.
But who else do you know that smashes everything out and is like, yeah, I'm gonna front run this champion sound. Champion this sound.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point.
But they say we're behind the States anyway. They say we're 10 years behind. So, you know, it could be a very soon moment where we have that.
It's true. It's true. But even you said in your before answer, you said like, I've chopped and changed, but you still to this day don't feel like you've found that perfect sound, your sound.
I'm like, I like making everything. And I always imply it to the artists that I work with. Oh, I have a sound, like, because I always use this analogy. All the artists I work with will tell you, but it's like, imagine you're the artist and I'm working with you, yeah? And imagine you've got a sound. Let's say you do wave music, yeah? And everyone loves the wave stuff you've done. But you know in yourself, you can make Afro beats, you can make drill, you can do this, do that. I'd always say just try and stay in your lane as much as possible, because it is like going to a restaurant. This is the analogy I say. It's always like going to, let's say, Gauchos. And let's say you love a steak. And you go there and you get the steak. But then one day you might give someone a fish, but they haven't come to you for fish, they come to you for steak. And sometimes that can throw someone off coming back to you to listen. It's a weird one, but it's at the same time, people come to you for a reason. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of the biggest artists that we have over here, they have a sound that you will put their name to a sound. You won't look at them and say, oh, they do everything. Do you know what I mean? It's only when they get to a certain level or they get to that degree of, they're becoming a household name, where they can start chopping and changing what they want. And you look at the greats, like even Drake, he had a sound when he came up. That what was So Far Gone? That album was very cohesive. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of stuff that varied. Obviously, he was like R&B, but rap as well. But when he become a household name, he could start doing whatever he wanted. And it's the same with a lot of the big artists. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like that's a key element for artists and producers to have that narrative on where they're going to go.
100% agree. And within that answer, you said household name a few times. I would say that within the industry, in the UK, you are a household name in the producer world.
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah, I disagree. I feel like I still haven't even had a hit, like a massive hit yet, for me to be in that bracket. But I feel like I've got them in the locker. But it's just, you can't control an artist, what they put out. I feel like I've had hits with artists that haven't come out. And you can't control what an artist wants to put out.
How frustrating is that?
It's frustrating, but it's just, you just got to charge it to the game. Do you know what I mean? I've got songs now that I'm like, this is a banger. And I'm never one to force it, like, phone the artist like, oh yeah, this song's banger, but when you just put something like, I hate that. I'd rather them make their own mind up, but influence it. Like, say, if we're in a room and everyone's saying, yeah, this is hard, but yeah, bro, this is hard. Do you know what I mean? This is I'm not that guy to be pestering and bugging someone to put it out. Do you know what I mean? I believe it will happen when it happens.
It's a good point. kind of where I wanted to go with that initial point of, let's just say you're in a top bracket within the industry. Let's say that. So I think a lot of people will see that and they'll say, like, just got there overnight, I wanted to understand from your perspective, and this is kind of going into your journey of the various different production tools that you've used. It leads me to believe that it's been a long road. So I wanted to understand how much hard work you put into this journey.
A lot, man. I would say when I left my job about 7 years ago. So I was working in a shop and I left there, and my friends Beans and Callie opened a studio at the end of my road, literally. And they said, do you want to come and work there? But this time my phone was kind of popping off saying, because I do recording sessions as well. That's what a lot of people would know me for. So they said, phone was beating off. They said, do you want to come? I need to come record, or do you want to come do a session? But I'm at work, I'm trying to make beats at work. Like, I'm doing the most. So I said, you know what? I just packed it in work and I just said, fuck it, one day I just left, innit? Left work, said to Beans and Callie, I said, bro, look, I'm going to come and do the studio thing that they're talking about. They opened a Plush House, yeah. So went to work in Plush House, was there for 2 years, about to come out of jail, so I met Bouncer as well. Started working with Bouncer. And then from there, after about 2.5 years of working with them, I felt like the audience was almost limited. So I wasn't just working with the talent from South London or who they could just rope in from other areas. Decided to go more central with it. So I messaged someone who used to manage me, brother. So a woman called Jenny used to manage me, and her brother was a guy called Zach. He had a studio in King's Cross. So then I messaged him and said, look, I'm looking for a space, basically. Went up to King's Cross for a day and I said, I needed to borrow the studio originally. So then I went up there for the day. The day turned to 2 days. After a week, he was like, oh, do you want to just sit up here? And I was like, all right, cool. Ended up staying there for a couple months. And he was just like, let's just make this a proper thing now. So we sorted out a rental situation with him. And I was there for about 2.5 years as well, I think. 2.5, 3 years. And then I started working with more talent because everyone could get there. You could smoke there. Like that was a big thing. Do you know what I mean? So I was getting people from West, from South, from North, from everywhere. So I said, cool, made this work. But during this time, I'm straying off from the original point, but steering off from this time, I was working non-stop. Like non-stop. I was working, even till now, bro, I work crazy hours. Like I'll get up at 7, take my son to school, go gym, come back, straighten the house up, get to studio for 12, I leave at 2, 3 in the morning, sometimes later. But those are the dedicated hours that I put into making this work. Do you know what I mean? That's how much I want it, how hard I want to work for it. So, and yeah, that's where we are, man.
How hard is that?
Yeah, it gets easier. Like when you enjoy your job and when you got good sessions, there's some sessions that management put me in. It's like, I'm going to try you with someone new, or if there's like just, it's like sometimes I don't know, energy might be off that day. You get in, you'd be surprised, but you might make a bang with someone that you never thought you would have. You make relationships with people that you never thought you would have, and now you call them good friends. And do you know what I mean? So it's weird, but yeah, like every day is different. Do you know what I mean? Like today I'm sitting here, so it's like every day is different. But yeah, when you enjoy what you're doing and you get the people that get the vision and everyone wants to kind of be on the same page, they're the best days. I mean, it's rare I have a bad day.
Quick one. Our sponsor, the 1994 Collective, are experts in PR and radio plugin. If you're an upcoming urban artist seeking airtime and to scale your audience, drop them a message and let them know we sent you. If it's rare, that means they have occurred. So what was like kind of the toughest moment throughout your journey to date?
I think it's the toughest moment. I couldn't tell you what the toughest one was, but it's probably just been like, I don't know, I don't know what the toughest moment would be.
How close have you come to thinking, fuck this, I'm quit?
Bedtimes. Everyone has it. I've got close friends, producers that I talk to all the time. There's one day, yeah, this was during the lockdown, I think. I moved to my new studio, so I've been in acting now for a couple of years. And there's one day, business dried up, wasn't getting no sessions. I just risked it all in this new space during lockdown when money's tight for everyone. I remember driving to the studio, I had no sessions. I was like, fuck, I drove past a bus and I was like, I wonder what it's like to be a bus driver. That's how mad it was. And I was like, slap out of this, man. I was like, fuck this. Phoned my friend and I was just like, I didn't say I'm going to stop or I want to get out of this, but I just had one of them down days where I was just like, yeah, man, today's shit. Do you know what I mean? That's probably a bad day, do you know what I mean? Where everything's dry, there's nothing coming in and you're just like, got no cuts on the table, sessions are hard to get because no one wants to get in or everyone's wrapping up their stuff. And the people you want to work with as well, they say you want to work with the elite people that's out there. They've got their closed camps as well. So it's finding a way to get into them camps to be in the mix there. So I mean, they're probably the days where you're like, fuck, I need to just find new ways of doing things. And then, yeah, you always find a way. I mean,
you speak about find a way. How do you overcome those days? And
just got to work, bro. It will just come. Like, just got to stay at it. Sometimes it's just staying at it, getting in with different. Like for me, it'd be getting in with different producers, getting in with different artists, getting in with, or going to networking events maybe. Or I haven't been to one in ages, but if you go to networking events, you're gonna meet people there. Or you might find your friends have done something, and they might bring you in on something. It will just figure itself out. It's weird, but it always does. I think as long as you can say to yourself, this is definitely still what I want to do, this is how I'm going to make it work, it'll always work out.
Perseverance.
Yeah, perseverance, literally. Consistency.
So I asked how close you come to quitting. You haven't quit, and you're here in the present. So it's a transition into the present seamlessly. I mean, I haven't even asked you, how are you?
I'm good, man. You're right.
I'm good. I'm very good.
I'm easy, man. Yeah, no, life's good, bro, man.
Good.
So, yeah, I can't complain, man.
When are you at your happiest?
You know, it's a mixture of different things, obviously. I love time off with my family, and I also, because I've got a little man, and I've spent the time with all my family. But then I also love the buzz of making a banger. Like when we've made something sick, and it's like, this is hard, and everyone in the room is feeling it. That priceless moments, do you know what I mean? Like both times are priceless moments, but yeah, it's just, they're the things that make me happy, really. You know what I mean? Doing what I love and being with the people that I love, so.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. You kind of went into making bangers, etc., etc., etc. Obviously, the list of artists that you've worked with is endless. So I wanted to kind of understand within that, what do you feel, from your perspective, creates a good producer-artist relationship?
A lot of trust. Do you know, the talent's got to complement each other. Do you know what I mean, there's sessions I've done with artists that are super talented, but my talent doesn't benefit them, and vice versa. And you end up just being mutual about it, and you're just like, yeah, you're sick, but it ain't gonna work well. But then you get some people where your sound complements their sound, and it's like they're the ones where like, we've got something. Like there's something here that's very solid. Do you know what I mean? Like when you get a relationship with an artist, and it's like you talk about more than just music, and you talk about other things, you build a chemistry. It becomes easier to make the music.
I was going to say, how much do you feel that translates into the end product, if that makes sense?
I feel like it translates a lot. So
it does.
Like, yeah, if you've got a good relationship with someone, they'll be able to bear more in a session. They'll be able to speak confidently, because you've got to record this person, like letting it all out. Do you know what I mean? If they don't know you like that, they may not be comfortable enough to do it. I saw an interview the other day with LMA, and she said, I can't remember the guy's name, used to be a Fundamental with this writer. She said she's only comfortable writing with him, and she said she can tell him anything. I feel like it's the same with producers and artists. Like, you get some people that will just come and let it all out, but some are more reserved and they want to build that chemistry up with the producer. And I feel like when you get that, it's special. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's a really good point. And with that in mind, what would you say to an artist that's like, say they've got a bit of budget, for sake of example, but they say, I like going on YouTube and I like taking a Lil Durk type beat from here and doing this, that and the other. What would you say to them to kind of win them over to be like, no, like I want to work with a producer? Like if I'm just doing a recording session and they just want to rip YouTube beats, either I'm not going to overly force it, but there's been times where I've got obviously a list of clients that will come and record, and I'll always say, that beat don't sound good because it's heavily compressed, or it's not banging how it would this way. And I've got some people that I just generally just look out for and reach. And like, I would say, let's say I've got either some of my beats or friends' beats, I'd say, look, try this beat on there. It's the same tempo. And they'd be like, yeah, that sounds better. And I mean, I never force anything. If it happens organically, it happens organically. So usually I kind of know who I want to work with. If I hear something, I like it, then I'll always say, yeah, we should definitely work. Do you know what I mean? I guess I mentioned one barrier potentially would be kind of that financial side of things. And with that in mind, I feel that this would be really valuable for potentially upcoming producers that are watching this or listening to this. And I wanted to understand from your perspective, what is like the blueprint to take this from a hobby of making beats with your mates to a sustainable financial role?
it's, you know what it is, there's no blueprint. Like, and that's one thing I've learned. My blueprint's going to be different to yours, and it's going to be different to anyone that watches this, because everyone's path is different. The way I work is I split my days in half. Do you know what I mean? So I'll do recording sessions. The other half I'll do the sessions that are going to pay more in the long run with the royalties and the publishing and the bigger advances. But who's to say that someone can't just make beats and sell them online and make a living? Because I know loads of people that do that. So it's like everyone's path is always going to be different. I just think the perseverance and the consistency is what's going to allow you to find your role and how you make it work for yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, I know producers that have literally just turned into a star overnight because they've had one big record. And it's like, fucking hell, like you've just smashed it to pieces. You know what I mean? Like, it's mad. But my journey is always going to be different, whether it's better for me in the long run. Because I've seen other people, like artists as well, that have got mad advances up front, but then it's destroyed them. So sometimes I think, you know, it's got to this thing for me to learn a bit of a harder way than just to be thrown straight into money. Do you know what I mean? Because I've seen it happen, tear people down loads of times before in the years I've done it. So it is interesting, but I don't think there's a solid blueprint for it. I just think you've got to find your own way in it.
I agree. Within your blueprint though, is obviously your studio in Acton. So I wanted to understand a little bit about that and kind of like how much of an investment that was from your perspective, and how much of a risk it was as well.
It was a risk in the sense that even when I've been tapped into this, but even when I was in Plush House and I left my job, the risk mentally put a strain on my whole household, because my son was just born. I think my son was like 1 or 2. And when I left my job, which was a decent paid job, my missus was like, "You're mad. Like, you just walked out of your job." Like, but she didn't understand. And I didn't understand myself. I just knew this is what I wanted to do. And I thought, if I'm going to do it now, I've got to do it now. Because if I don't, he's just going to grow up and things are going to get more expensive. Do you know what I mean? So I just took the risk. And doing that risk took a toll on me in the sense that I was, obviously I got kicked out of my house. Me and my missus weren't talking no more. Like, we was talking, but like it wasn't like that anymore. Do you know what I mean? So I moved out. My mum lived far. So if I wasn't staying at my mum's, I was staying at friends' houses. Sofa surfing for like 2 years, basically. Slept in a car a couple of nights, slept in the studio. Them lot will tell you that I was busy just trying to make it work. But in them 2 years, I made it work for me. Do you know what I mean? And then when I had a big car crash, and that kind of brought me and my family back together, because I think they realised that, you know, life is short. Do you know what I mean? I nearly died that day. So I said, you know, I think she realised this, you know, music's working. Like, I should have just persevered with him as well. But I get it. Like, she don't understand. A lot of people won't understand because you already know how the industry is. But now I've kind of made it work for a good few years. Now it's like, right, when I look at Acton, for instance, where I'm at now, yeah, it's an investment, but it's a risk, just like anything. Like, it's a risk coming in, not doing half-a-day sessions, because I could have missed out on a big opportunity today. But when you're calculated and you start managing your schedule properly and you start saying, right, we're going to do this day, this. As long as everyone adheres to it, then you're good, man. You can make it work.
It's an incredible story, inspiring story. So thank you for sharing that information with me. I appreciate it. And I'm just thinking about it. So all the sacrifices that you made, huge sacrifices to make that work. How much does that just like reinforce to you though that this is the path for me? If you're willing to make those sacrifices.
It's like, if you want it, you'll do it. I mean, if you want something bad enough, you'll find yourself just doing it regardless. If you don't want it, you're going to half step around it. For years before I decided to take that jump, I'd have numerous conversations. Oh, we should just try it, or we should do this. When I was in a production team before, and I say we should get our studios, 4 of us. I'm thinking we could all chip in and get this. And then I'm thinking, how are we going to make this work? And it only got when I got to myself, when I was by myself, and I said, I've just got to do it. If I don't, I'm just going to kick myself in the head for the rest of my years, bro. I'm just going to be like, why didn't I try it? And my only advice to anyone is just try it, bro. Do you know what I mean? Worst thing that can happen is it fucks up. Why not give it a go?
Yeah, I think that's the thing about risk, isn't it? A lot of people think, oh, what's the risk if it fails? But not a lot of people think, what's the risk if I don't try it? And regret can be much worse than any...
The risk I had was obviously leaving everything I had. Obviously, just the whole family situation. I left, you know, the lot of it, and it was like, you know, gonna have to just try this. And obviously it split us up for a little while. But the risk paid off because I took it and stuck by it. If I didn't stick by it and I'd done it half-heartedly, it'd probably be somewhere else right now. So I think it just goes to show you, if you try and you put your all into it and you focus on it and you want it bad enough, you can make it work.
What you put in, you'll get out at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an amazing story. So again, I appreciate you going into it, and I know a lot of people are going to appreciate and really tap into and resonate, I think, with that, which is the most important thing from my perspective, creating this content. Before kind of transitioning into the future and your goals and stuff like that, I wanted to ask you, so obviously I was reading the Red Bull article and it describes your sound as a fusion between sample and organic production with hard-hitting drums and 808s.
Yeah.
So
First
of all, how accurate is that?
That's kind of accurate still.
It is.
Yeah. I love a sample. I've got session players that I love. I work with like all the time, like Joe and James and Brad. I work with them like, religiously when I can. Like we make very organic stuff. We tie samples in together. I love hard drums and 808s. Come on, bro. So yeah, it's accurate. It's accurate. Yeah.
Good. Right, okay, perfect. Well, that plays into the next question. Obviously, maybe slowing down a little bit now, but obviously the recent like sample craze or whatever you want to call it within the UK. What's your stance on it?
I'm not a fan of it, bro. I'm not a huge fan of the bait corny samples. I've done them, I'm not gonna lie, bro, but I've cringed at them afterwards, like, fucking, you should make that. Do you know what I mean? Like, but you've got to, sometimes you have to stick with the trend to a degree. Do you know what I mean? Like, if there is a wave of something coming through, like when drill first come round, ask anyone, did like drill? I was like, I don't know, man. I used to love traps too much. I was like, I don't know if I like drill. But then some of the stuff that people know me for is my drill stuff that I've done with M24. So it's like, you know, I adapted to it. If you don't adapt to the game, you will get lost. That's one thing I will say. Do you know what I mean? But going back to the sample stuff, you never know, bro. You know, I could have a sample song that gets me number one tomorrow, bro. You just never know, innit? So it's like, you know, are you going to do that and then allow yourself to create an opportunity for something else that you can hone back into yourself and what you want to do? As a producer, you just never know.
No, that's a good point. I had to ask you, so thank you for going into it, and I think it's a good answer. So,
what do you think? I want to know your opinion on it.
I'm with you, to be fair. So like the way I fell in love with rap music initially was like the old school American stuff. So like Nas, really old school Eminem I was speaking about earlier, like Slim Shady LP and stuff like that. And I think samples where you listen to a song and you kind of hear something like really subtly and you think, what is that? And it bugs you and you're like, where did that come from? Do you know what I mean? And you have to do a bit of investigating to find it. That, in my opinion, is a good sample. When you hear a song and it's like, that's come from here and it's like really bait, then I'm not so much of a fan. Like, so that's my opinion. But saying that, I don't think I think there are some good songs that have benefited from it.
There's definitely some good ones, but it's always subjective. So, you know, and there is definitely an audience for it. Obviously, it's doing a madness right now, but it's just not. Let's put it like this: I wouldn't put it on my car and listen to it. Do you know what I mean?
I also think like I think we kind of tapped into it with T. Dinas as well, and he was just kind of saying like, it's definitely like fast food music, which I agree with. I think it is the sort of like, okay, like 2 weeks or whatever in the charts really high and then it disappears and no one cares anymore. You probably won't hear the artist for a little while afterwards. That's what it feels like. It's churned them out so fast. We're still at early stages of it, but it'd be interesting to see in 6 months to a year where some of these artists are and what they're doing. Definitely.
I don't want to write them off, but you just never know.
You see what they're doing in a year or two, which seems like the perfect opportunity to tap into the future. So let's get into it. So earlier within the conversation, you said you don't feel like you're top echelon of UK producers. What do you have to accomplish in the future to get you that status?
I just feel like you just got to have a massive hit, bro. Like, you know that song that like let's use an example, like Tiny's got Pass Out. Like, he had a song that lasted him like a year, 2 years. Even now it's getting spun on radio, bro. I ain't got one of them. That's what I want. That's the goal for me. I want that big hit, numerous amounts that's going to stretch me out for a long period of time. They're the records that's going to be like, right, yeah, publishing though, you get £1 million. And they're the ones that you want where you can say, do you know what? We've done well. We've done good. I feel like I ain't got that yet. But like I said, I feel like I've had some and got some in the locker, but whether they come, that's a different story.
I guess, like you say, then it's a bit of a lottery. I was going to ask you how far off you think you are, but how hard is it to kind of put your finger on, like, I think I'm going to get here at X time?
you just never know, bro. Like, you never know. And sometimes, again, because it's all subjective, what I think is a hit could come out and flop. Do you know what I mean? It's only the masses that's going to tell you whether this is a banger or not. Do you know what I mean? There's one artist I'm talking to at the moment. We done a very special song the other day, and we're talking to each other and we're saying, bro, this song's crazy. Like, this, it could be a very powerful song, and it probably is, but if and when it comes out and how it comes out is what's going to change the course of that being a hit or not. And I feel like that's the same with a lot of people. And with TikTok now here, obviously that can change a lot of stuff, because that's you're getting instant answers from fan bases to say, yeah, this is a banger, this isn't a banger, or, you know what I mean? But at the same time, a lot of fast food music's coming out of there as well. So it's hard to say whether you test the organic stuff on there or if you test,
You were pretty quick to give your answer on like your goal is like to make that hit.
Yeah.
Why is that goal? Why is that your goal? Sorry. So like, what is it about it? Is it the financial implications? Is it the status? What draws you to that goal?
I think that the end goal would be to be like that top ranked Billboard #1 producer, top album produced. The main goal, another actually main goal, is to produce someone from the ground up to the top. That's like a massive accolade, and I think a big compliment to a producer to take someone from nothing to something. That's like, I feel like, is the highest thing you can do. Taking someone from nowhere, 0 followers, fresh to Instagram, to making them to the top of the world. If I don't know anyone that's done it before. Do you know what I mean? Like, Drake's probably obviously one of like 40s. I feel like he's done that, Drake. But being in that kind of world is like, yeah, that's where I think everyone aspires to be. But you got to have an artist to do that. You got to have someone. Do you know what I mean?
From like a talent spotting perspective, then what would you look out for if you were on a mission to...
Do you know what? I come across, during lockdown, I come across Kid Lawrie, and I was like, Kid Laroi is amazing. Like, he was like a fresh breath of fresh air. Sorry. For me, I was like, this kid's sick. He's got all the elements of people that I like. He's got Post Malone vibes, he's got Juice WRLD vibes, he's got Drake vibes, he's got Justin Bieber vibes, he's got it all wrapped into one. So I was like, this kid musically is sick. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if I could have had him from the beginning, I would love to. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of talent I'd love to work from as a talent seeking perspective. I feel like everyone would want someone that's got a star quality. That's what you look for, star quality.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely. What would you say defines star quality?
I was talking about this the other day in the studio, and we said branding over here, kind of outside of music, forget the music for a minute. If you look at someone, you can see if they've got a star quality or not. They could walk into a room right now and you can say, oh yeah, they look a star. Do you know what I mean? And who have we got over here that has that? There's a few, but like we was talking like, right, yeah, if Young Adz walked in a room, he's got a gold chain on, 29, blah, 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 he's got his dreads out, he looks like a star. Fredo walks in, look like a star. Central C, Nath, Huncho, they all got star qualities about them. Do you know what I mean? But then we went back to the side of it where we was talking about Dave and Stormzy, and was like, they don't look as star quality-ish as them, but their music speaks in numbers. So it's like, it doesn't even matter. Do you know what I mean? It's like half the time it don't even matter. As long as the music speaks, that's what counts. So it's a weird one. But I think as long as you're making music and people, there's an audience for it and people love it, if you've got the star quality, it's wicked if it goes with it.
Definitely. Really good answer. And earlier when I touched upon like Still Bangles and etc. making their own content, I wanted to understand, like, from your perspective, how close to being on the spectrum is that for you, like making your own content and putting stuff out?
What do you mean, like
Michelin Shin TV? Who knows? Like, what do you think about kind of releasing your own content moving forward?
I had a situation last year, beginning of this year with NQ, and they was gonna do an EP together. So it was going to be me featuring a load of artists. And then we got a load of songs together. Had Lost Girl on there, had T-Mother on there, Kilo Jug was on there, Hacks, Barnett, this, that, and the other. But it just wasn't making sense. Like, the way we wanted to roll things out, it just wasn't making sense. And I feel like it just wasn't the right time. Like, we had the music there, but just something wasn't adding up, something wasn't making sense. And it just didn't feel cohesive. It felt forced almost. So I just, me and my team, we just kind of sat together and said, let's just pull the plug on this one, do you know what I mean? But again, we've got a good relationship now with NQ, and all the artists that I worked with anyway, I've had relationships before. This wasn't even an idea. But I feel like if I am going to do it, I'd want it to start with one artist first instead of doing a compilation almost. I'd want it to be someone that I can build a whole sound with. Do you know what I mean? I don't know who that's going to be yet, but it's something I really, really want to do.
Good answer, and I feel it almost ties a really fascinating future section up. But I wanted to understand one last thing from you, and I often ask this to guests, to be fair, but success to you, whether it's personal, whether it's music, what does your idea of success look like?
I think it's just like, you know, when you ain't got to have a care in the world about anything, just mum's good, parents good, missus good, little man's good, everything's good. You ain't got to worry about nothing. That's, for me, that's success. Like, we're good, we're stable. We ain't got to struggle. He ain't got to struggle. You ain't got to struggle. Your bills are paid. Food on the table, roof over the heads. Go where we want, when we want. That to me is like the perfect success for me. Do you know what I mean? You could put an amount of money on that, but it's like, you know, once that's achieved and attained, and if you can provide that for your next set of kids or your grandchildren or whatnot, then it's like, yeah, we've really done it. Do you know what I mean? Like Jay-Z's got success, it feels like. Do you know what I mean? He's got generational wealth. I feel that's probably the word. But whether you attain that, whether it's for the moment, for now, or whether it's for your next generation, that for me would be like the biggest success. If I could retire my whole family now, that'd be like, yeah, I've done amazing. Do you know what I mean? I just do music for fun. Do you know what I mean?
Great answer. So I think it's a perfect place to end. I wanted to, before I ask you the final two questions that I ask everyone, just say a massive thank you for your presence, for your honesty and wisdom ultimately as well. So I really appreciate it. It's affected me in person, so I'm sure it will do through the camera and through the mic for those listening and watching as well.
I appreciate it, bro. It's been good.
Thank you. So final two things that I need to ask you. One, which I'll give you 30 seconds to think about, is we ask all our guests to nominate someone to come on. So anyone that you know within the industry, whether it's artist, whether it's producer, label owner, anyone. So it can be quite diverse. Name Smalls. But the first thing I'll ask you, to give you a bit of time to think about that, is we want to kind of make content moving forward to answer unanswered questions, or whatever you want to call them. So what would you say is a topic within the industry or a question that you would like light to be shed on through content?
What, for you to ask?
For us to... So let's say you say, oh, how do I make money in the industry? And we go out and we speak to 100 producers and we say, how do you make money? And then compile a bit of content that will be like, right, okay, this is how you make money within the industry.
I don't know, you know. I generally don't know. Like, what do people want to know, bro? Like, what do people ask you? Like, I mean, like, how do people make money such a vague thing? It's just like...
Yeah, so some of the answers that we've had is like, you know, the whole like no friends in the industry thing, where it's like, is everyone fake? Like, do you know what I mean? Are there genuine relationships within the industry? Some people...
Yeah, there definitely is. But do you know what? I don't actually know what would be...
Well, we can come back to it off camera.
Yeah,
we'll get that answer.
I'll have to have a pop-up.
We'll drop it in the comments. But you've had your time, so who's getting the nomination?
If you can get Nath, it'd be amazing. Yeah, he's got a story to tell, man.
What do you think you'd have to say to him on that camera to convince him to come on?
Get in there, Nath. He's good people's, man. Do you know what I mean? Get in. So yeah, but I think if he come in here, he'd have he'd enjoy the interview, man. Good people. So. He's got an amazing story as well. I don't even know the full story from him, but from the time that I have known him, he's a good talent. He's an amazing person. Great talent, and he knows what he wants. I mean, I feel like he can inspire a lot of people through. Because someone said to me the other day about Nath on social media, said he's not engaging enough. And I was like, that's interesting you say that. And then when they start giving the examples of people that do interact, I was like, yeah, not everyone needs to interact. Sometimes that's just how they are. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like it would be good for him to voice a whole, podcast. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, get in touch.
Fingers crossed. See if we can make it happen. But thank you, bro, for your time. It's been incredible. And
I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.